1. We're checking out a real gem on Facebook Marketplace, a 1972 Ford F-350 that's up for grabs at $6,000. This classic workhorse has only 42,000 miles on the clock, which is pretty impressive for a vehicle pushing 50 years old. It's got a manual transmission, perfect for those who love to feel connected to their ride. Now, let's be real. The exterior isn't winning any beauty contests. The red paint has seen better days, and the seller's been honest about that. They've sprayed some primer on a few spots, but it's definitely due for a fresh coat. However, don't let that fool you. This truck's got some serious potential. Under the hood, you'll find a 360 V8 engine that's still running strong with no smoke or knocks. The seller's put in some work, replacing the brakes, gas tank, fuel pump, and carburetor. Plus, those tires? They're practically new. One of the coolest features is the 8,000 lb winch hidden under the bed. Talk about a secret weapon. The 12FX 7.6 steel bed and dual exhaust add to its workhorse credentials. And get this, there's no rust on the cab or frame, which is a big deal for a truck this age. 2. We're checking out a 1982 Dodge D150 that's caught my eye. This bad boy is up for grabs at $6,000, and let me tell you, it's got some interesting mods going on. First off, the seller claims it's only got 10,000 miles on the clock. Now, I'm not saying that's impossible, but on an 82 model, you might want to double-check that. It's rocking an automatic transmission and a white exterior with a blue interior. Classic combo. Now, here's where it gets interesting. This D150 has been lowered with spring under axle and drop spindles, giving it that sweet low-rider look. They've shaved the taillights and tailgate and added a roll-pan bumper for a cleaner rear end. The 18-inch wheels definitely add to that custom vibe. But here's the kicker. It's currently a roller. Yep, you heard that right. The 318 engine and Autotrans are not installed, but they come with the truck along with everything else needed to put it back together. So, if you're looking for a project, this could be your jam. The good news is the doors, rockers, and frame are clean, but there's some rust on the rear fenders. Can't win them all, right? On the plus side, it comes with a complete interior, an extra transmission, shaved doors, and a bunch of other parts. 3. We're diving into a real gem on Facebook Marketplace, a 1966 Chevrolet C10 that's turning heads at $12,000. Now let's get real about this beauty. First off, the seller claims it's got 54,000 miles on the clock. For a truck pushing 60 years old, that's pretty low mileage if it's accurate. But remember, always take mileage claims on classics with a grain of salt. This C10 is rocking a beautiful blue exterior with a beige interior, a classic combo that never goes out of style. Under the hood, you've got the original 389 motor, which is a big plus for collectors. It's paired with an automatic transmission, making it a breeze to cruise around town or hit the highway. Now, the seller says it's in very good condition with no significant damage or problems. That's promising, but always remember to inspect closely or get a professional opinion before buying. These old trucks can hide rust in sneaky places. One thing that caught my eye, the seller is open to offers. That $12,000 price tag might have some wiggle room, so don't be afraid to negotiate if you're serious about it. Look, I've got to be honest, this C10 looks like a solid find. The 66 model is highly sought after, and if it's as good as described, it could be a great investment. But remember, it's still a 57-year-old truck. It might need some TLC to keep it running smoothly. 4. We're checking out a real blast from the past on Facebook Marketplace, a 1983 Ford F-250 XL Super Cab long bed that's up for grabs at $12,000. Let's dive into this vintage workhorse and see what we've got. First off, this beast has clocked 120,000 miles, which isn't too bad for a 40-year-old truck. It's sporting a tan exterior and interior, giving it that classic 80s vibe. Under the hood, you've got a monster 460 cubic inch engine paired with a heavy-duty C6 automatic transmission. That's some serious power, folks. Now, let's be real. This truck's got some character. The seller admits there are some dings from work use, but hey, that's part of the charm, right? They've clear-coated it to preserve that original brown paint with the full racetrack trim. Inside, you've got captain's chairs up front and a bench in the back. Perfect for hauling the crew. Here's the good news. It's an Oregon truck that's made its way to Florida, so rust isn't a big issue. The AC blows cold with a new compressor and R12 refrigerant, which is a big plus in the Sunshine State. The seller's thrown in some extras like a replacement vinyl floor, a NOS dual battery tray, not installed, and even a Vi-Air electric air compressor. They've also done some recent maintenance with synthetic fluids and new ignition components. 5. We're checking out a real blast from the past on Facebook Marketplace, a 1985 Chevrolet El Camino that's up for grabs at $4,000. Now, let's get real about this unique ride. First off, this El Camino has been around the block a few times with 181,454 miles on the clock. That's a lot of miles, folks, but hey, it's still kicking. It's rocking a black exterior with a red interior, which is a pretty sweet color combo if you ask me. Now, the seller says it's in good shape, but let's be honest, that's a relative term for a 38-year-old vehicle. They mention it could use some body work, so don't expect a showroom-ready ride here. But hey, that's part of the charm with these classics, right? One cool feature is those 22-inch rims. They're definitely not original, but they give this El Camino a unique look. Speaking of original, the seller claims it's all original otherwise, which could be a plus for purists. Here's the thing. This El Camino has been sitting for a while. That's usually not great news for older vehicles. It might need some TLC to get it running smoothly again. But on the bright side, it does run and drive, so it's not just a pretty lawn ornament. Look, I've got to be honest. This isn't a perfect vehicle. It's got high mileage, needs some body work, and might require some mechanical attention after sitting. But for $4,000, you're getting a piece of automotive history. The El Camino is a unique vehicle that turns heads wherever it goes. 6. We're checking out a 1967 Ford F-100 that's up for grabs on Facebook Marketplace for $15,000. This classic pickup has some serious charm and a few quirks that make it interesting. Let's be real here. This truck isn't perfect, but it's got a lot going for it. The seller's honest about its condition, which I appreciate. The body's straight and mostly rust-free, but there's some minor surface rust on the passenger side. The paint job is 4 years old and has a few scratches, which is pretty normal for a vehicle of this age. Now, let's talk about the good stuff. This F-100's got a modified 400 engine paired with a C6 automatic transmission, both with low miles. They've upgraded the brakes with a disc conversion up front and new drums in the rear. The dual exhaust with Flowmasters probably gives it a nice rumble too. The interior's rocking a red color scheme, which is a cool contrast to the gray exterior. One thing to note, there's no AC, so keep that in mind if you're in a hot climate. The hood's admittedly not in great shape, but as the seller points out, finding replacements for these 6772 F-100s isn't easy. It's a trade-off you might have to accept for owning a piece of automotive history. 7. We're checking out a 1976 Chevrolet 2500 that's up for grabs on Facebook Marketplace for $8,500. Now let's be real here. This old workhorse has seen its fair share of miles, clocking in at a whopping 334,125 on the odometer. That's a lot of road under its wheels. The seller's description is pretty brief, but it gives us some important info. They say it runs and drives, which is always good to hear for a vehicle of this age. They've also got the pink slip in hand, so that's one less headache for potential buyers. Now, here's where things get interesting. The seller mentions they've recently replaced the engine, tires, rims, and interior. That's a lot of major components. On one hand, it's great that these parts are new. On the other hand, it makes you wonder why so much needed replacing. Was the truck in rough shape before? The exterior and interior are both described as off-white, which could look pretty clean if it's well maintained. But with a truck this old, don't expect showroom quality. It's running on gasoline and has an automatic transmission, which are pretty standard for these old Chevy trucks. 8. Let me tell you about this 1985 Chevy C10 I found on Marketplace. Being straight with you, this one's a bit of a project truck. The seller's asking $10,000, and honestly, that's pretty steep considering its condition. Here's the deal. It's got a 350 engine that was rebuilt a few years back. But here's the catch. It's not running right now. The seller isn't sure what's wrong, which could mean anything from a simple fix to something more serious. On the plus side, it's got some good points. It's an original short bed, which is desirable, and it's rolling on nearly new tires. There's also a nice sound system installed. The black paint job isn't in great shape, seller admits this. And with 100,000 miles on the clock, you're looking at a truck that's seen its share of road time. Let's be real. While C10s from this era are becoming increasingly popular and can be great classics, this particular one needs work. You'll need to factor in towing costs since it's not running, plus whatever it takes to get that 350 motor going again. If you're handy with tools and love these classic Chevys, it might be worth negotiating the price, but at $10K, you might want to keep looking unless you're really sold on this particular truck. 9. Let me tell you about this interesting 1973 Ford F-250 Highboy I just found. For $9,500, you're looking at a classic workhorse that's been modernized in some pretty cool ways. The truck's running a 6.9L turbo diesel engine, which is a solid power plant for heavy-duty work, paired with a ZF5 5-speed manual transmission. What makes this one special is the mix of old and new. They've upgraded it with 2014 Chevy bucket seats, added airbags with an onboard compressor for adjustable ride height, and fitted it with 20-inch wheels. The steel flatbed with a gooseneck ball shows this truck means business when it comes to hauling. Being honest here, the 89,000 miles showing might not be accurate, as the seller mentions the odometer could have rolled over. That's pretty common for these old trucks though. The Highboy designation, Ford's factory-lifted 4x4, makes this more desirable among collectors and off-road enthusiasts. For the price, you're getting a well-equipped work truck that's got some modern conveniences while keeping that classic Ford charm. The trailer brake setup and flatbed configuration make it particularly valuable if you're looking for a serious hauler. Just make sure to check the usual rust spots these old Fords are known for. 10. Let's check out this 1979 Chevy K5 Blazer listed for $12,000. I've got to be honest, the seller's not giving us much to work with here, just dropping no trades in the description, which makes it a bit tricky to fully assess what we're dealing with. What we do know is that it's rocking a brown-on-brown color combo, very period correct for the 70s, and shows 75,723 miles on the clock. It's equipped with an automatic transmission and runs on good old gasoline. The K5 Blazers from this era are becoming increasingly desirable collector's items, known for their rugged capability and classic looks. Being straight with you, $12,000 is a significant ask for any 44-year-old vehicle, and without more details about its condition, maintenance history, or any modifications, you definitely want to inspect this one thoroughly in person. These Blazers typically came with either a 250ci inline-6 or various V8 options, but the seller hasn't specified which one's under the hood. Common issues to check would be frame rust, top condition, if it's a removable top, and transmission health. If you're interested, you'll want to ask about recent maintenance, whether it's all original, and if there are any mechanical issues to address. These K5s are awesome vehicles when properly maintained, but make sure you get all the info before pulling the trigger at this price point. 11. Let's talk about this 1972 Chevy Suburban I found listed for $9,500 in Baker, Montana. I've got to be upfront here. This is definitely a project vehicle, not a drive-away deal. The most important thing to note right off the bat, there's no engine in it. Though the seller mentions they have several motors available for extra cost. The good news? It's a pretty rare find, a 71-72 Suburban with factory dual AC, which is a desirable option. The seller mentions all rust has been professionally repaired, which is a huge plus since these old Suburbans were notorious rust magnets. The orange exterior has what sounds like a decent patina look, and you could either blend the paint repairs to keep that vintage vibe, or go for a complete repaint. Being honest, $9,500 is pretty steep for a vehicle without an engine, even though it's a 4x4 model, with the transmission and transfer case still in place. You'll need to factor in not just the engine cost, but all the work to get it installed and running properly. The 100,000 miles showing is probably academic at this point given the vehicle's project status. 12. Let's check out this 1972 Chevy 1500 that's listed for $15,000. I appreciate the seller's honesty here. They straight up tell us this truck is far from perfect, and that's refreshing in today's market. The truck's sporting a fresh blue paint job and new wheels, which definitely adds to its appeal. Under the hood, you're getting the original motor, and importantly, it runs and drives. Always a plus for a 51-year-old vehicle. The matching blue interior adds to that classic 72 charm. Being straight with you though, $15,000 is a pretty hefty asking price, even in today's hot classic truck market. The seller admits there are imperfections and suggests seeing it in person, which is always wise with classic vehicles. They're also open to price negotiations face-to-face, which might give you some wiggle room. What I really like is the seller's transparency, no hiding behind fancy words or overselling it. They need cash, the truck needs work, but it's still described as a really cool truck. If you're interested in classic Chevys and don't mind some imperfections, it might be worth checking out. Just be prepared to negotiate that price based on what you find during inspection. Remember, original motor classic trucks are getting harder to find, but make sure the price matches the condition when you see it in person. 13. Let's talk about this 1985 Ford F-250 with the Explorer package that's up for $11,500. I've got to say this one's catching my eye for the right reasons. What we're looking at here is a pretty clean example of an 85 F-250, and it's rocking that desirable Explorer package. Under the hood, you'll find the reliable 351 Windsor V8, and with 106,000 miles, it's still got plenty of life left if it's been maintained well. The seller mentions it's their daily driver, which is always a good sign. Means it's not just sitting around collecting dust. The truck's had some recent updates that matter. New Holley carb, valve covers, air cleaner, and they just threw on some meaty 285 tires a few weeks back. Being honest here, it does need a new exhaust system, so factor that into your budget. But what's really impressive is that it's claimed to be 98% original, with an amazing interior, which is rare for these workhorses. For a 38-year-old truck, being clean enough to daily drive and turn heads is pretty impressive. The 2WD configuration might not be everyone's cup of tea, but it means fewer maintenance headaches than a Forbear 4. While $11,500 isn't cheap, original, well-maintained examples of these trucks are getting harder to find. Just make sure to check the usual Ford rust spots and verify that Explorer package documentation. 14. Let's check out this 1982 GMC 1500 that's listed for $14,800. First off, I've got to mention that the seller's description is pretty minimal, but they're claiming it's very nice inside and out with everything working properly. This short box pickup is rocking a blue-on-blue color combo, which is a classic 80s look. With just 65,000 miles on the clock, it's surprisingly low mileage for a 41-year-old truck. The seller states it has a clean title and no significant damage or problems, which is always good to hear. Being straight with you though, $14,800 is a pretty serious ask for an 82 GMC, even in today's inflated classic truck market. While these trucks are becoming increasingly collectible, you'll definitely want to verify that mileage and do a thorough inspection before pulling the trigger at this price point. The good news is that the seller mentions they're open to offers, so there might be some room for negotiation. These early 80s GMCs are known for their reliability when properly maintained, and parts are generally easy to find. If you're interested, make sure to check for the usual rust spots these trucks are known for, especially in the cab corners and bed. Also, verify all the mechanical components since the seller's description is pretty light on details. It could be a sweet classic truck, but at this price, you'll want to do your homework. 15. Let me tell you about this interesting 1958 Ford F-100 that's up for grabs at $5,000. And honestly, at this price point, we need to talk about what's here because it's pretty intriguing. This isn't your typical 58 F-100, it's been modernized with some serious upgrades. The truck's running a 289 V8, transplanted from a Ford Tyranno, with a Holley Sniper fuel injection system, which alone is worth about $1,500. They've also dropped in a new C4 automatic transmission, which is a reliable choice for these builds. What makes this deal even sweeter is all the extras you're getting. We're talking the original seat, a complete front end with power steering setup, spare exhaust manifolds, plus it's got a new gas tank and new seats installed. The seller says it runs like brand new and is ready to roll as either a show truck or even a daily driver. Being straight with you, $5,000 for a running driving 58 F100 with modern fuel injection is surprisingly reasonable in today's market. Sure, it's not a numbers matching original, but these modifications actually make it more usable as a regular driver. The black exterior with gray interior gives it a classic look, and with a clean title, you're not dealing with any paperwork headaches. 16. Let's talk about this 1982 Chevy C10 that's listed for $15,000. The seller's being pretty straightforward here. They've got a green-on-green classic with supposedly just 60,000 miles on the clock. Let's get real about what we're looking at. According to the seller, everything under the hood has been redone and is brand new, which could be a major plus if done properly. However, there are a couple of issues you need to know about. It needs new tires. That's an immediate expense you'll have to factor in, and both the AC and heater aren't currently hooked up. That's not just a comfort issue. That's potentially a decent amount of work and money to get sorted. Being honest, $15,000 is a pretty steep ask for an 82 C10, even with low miles and fresh mechanical work. These square-body Chevys are hot right now, but you'll want to verify that 60K mileage claim and get detailed documentation about all those brand new components under the hood. The matching green interior and exterior is a cool period-correct combo, and these C10s are known for being solid trucks when properly maintained. But before pulling the trigger at this price, you'll definitely want to inspect it thoroughly and maybe negotiate, considering you'll need to invest in tires and HVAC work right off the bat. Make sure to get the full story on all those mechanical upgrades too. 17. Let's check out this 1985 Chevy 1500 that's listed for $15,000 or trade for a Renegade. This one's got some interesting upgrades that we need to talk about. The truck's running a 350 motor with performance upgrades including headers and a custom carb setup, plus it's only got 10,000 miles on the rebuilt engine. The powertrain's been beefed up with a 3.73 Posi-Track rear end and a turbo 350 transmission, a solid combo for both street and performance use. It's sitting pretty on 22-inch wheels with fresh rubber, which definitely gives it a modern stance. Inside, they've gone all out with upgrades, digital gauges, which is a cool modern touch, new carpets, new seats, new door panels, and a fresh dash. Being honest though, it does need a headliner, so factor that into your plans. The red exterior with black interior is a classic combo that works well on these square-body Chevys. $15,000 is up there in price, but considering all the new parts and upgrades, it's not completely out of line in today's market. Just make sure to verify all the work that's been done, especially on that engine build. These mid-80s Chevys are getting more popular by the day, and with the short, wide bed configuration, it's a desirable setup. Worth checking out if you're into modified classics with some modern touches. 18. Let's talk about this 1984 Chevy Silverado that's up for $12,500. The seller's keeping the description pretty brief, but there are some important details to unpack here. First off, this is a short wheelbase, SWB 4x4 model, which is a desirable configuration for these square-body Chevys. Under the hood, you're getting a rebuilt 327 engine paired with a 700R transmission. That's a solid powertrain combo that offers a good mix of power and reliability. The 700R transmission is actually a nice upgrade from the original, giving you better highway drivability with its overdrive gear. The truck shows 85,000 miles, comes with a clean title, and is sporting new tires, which is always a plus. No immediate expense there. The white exterior looks clean in the photos, though the seller doesn't mention the interior color or condition. Being honest here, $12,500 is a significant ask, but the market for these square-body 4x4s has been hot lately. The OBO, or best offer, suggests there's room for negotiation. You'll want to get more details about when that 327 was rebuilt and verify the overall condition, especially the typical rust spots these trucks are known for. If everything checks out mechanically and the body's solid, it could be a decent buy for someone looking for a classic 4x4 with some modern driveline upgrades. 19. Let's check out this 1983 Chevy 1500 that's listed for a pretty reasonable $3,500. I've got to say, in today's inflated classic truck market, this one catches my eye for being honestly presented and fairly priced. You're looking at an all-original truck with the 305 V8 engine in a 2WD configuration. With 139,000 miles, it's got some life under its belt, but that's not terrible for these old workhorses. The seller's being refreshingly honest about the truck's condition. It runs and drives well, but there are a couple of issues they're upfront about. There's a cracked windshield that'll need replacing, and it needs valve cover gaskets installed, though they're including the gaskets with the sale. The brown-on-brown color combo is pure 80s nostalgia, and being all original can be a plus for collectors. The seller describes it as solid, which is important for these square-body Chevys that often battle rust issues. For $3,500, you're getting a running, driving classic truck that needs some minor work. That's pretty fair in today's market. The 305 isn't the most powerful engine option, but it's reliable and parts are readily available. If you're looking for an entry-level classic truck project that you can drive while you fix it up, this could be a solid choice. Just make sure to check those usual rust spots and verify the mechanical condition. 20. Let's talk about this 1985 Dodge D150 that's up for $5,000 OBO. This one's actually pretty interesting for the price point. What we've got here is a two-owner truck showing 98,000 miles, which isn't bad for a 38-year-old vehicle. The seller's highlighting some important points. It's got a built 318 engine, which could mean anything from mild to wild. You'll want to ask for specifics. And they've just put in a brand new transmission, which is a significant plus, since that's usually a major expense with these old trucks. The black exterior paired with the blue interior is an interesting combo, and according to the seller, that interior is in great shape, which is pretty rare for these old Dodges. They're also claiming the body is straight, with no significant damage, and it comes with a clean title. Being straight with you, $5,000 with the or best offer option seems pretty fair in today's market, especially considering the new transmission and built engine. These D150s are often overlooked compared to their Ford and Chevy counterparts, which can make them better values. The 318 is a solid, reliable engine when properly maintained, and parts are still readily available.